And I'm joined now by Armed Services Committee member, Congressman Michael Waltz. Good to have you with us today, Congressman. Obviously, this is it's a significant, very significant development in a story that was seen as an achievement at the time. We heard that General Milley called it a righteous action that was taken. And we now know that this strike, which was, we were told, took out an imminent ISIS-K threat, was actually 10 civilians and as many as 7 children who were killed in that strike. And the Mr. Ahmadi, who was the driver of this white Toyota Corolla that you see on the right-hand side of your screen, was part of the Office of Nutrition and Education International, which is an aid group. There had been some indications that this possibly was what had happened, Congressman, and now this admission on the part of the Pentagon that that is in fact what happened. Your thoughts as we take this all in today?
Yeah, Martha, you know, first my heart and my thoughts and prayers go to this aid worker and their family. Every time I think this story can't get worse, it does. It's just heartbreaking. But, you know, Martha, I want to take a step back and just unpack a few things, if we have a second, that General McKenzie said there. Number one, you know, the military mission on the ground was put in an impossible situation. They were giving 2 conflicting missions. One, a full withdrawal in the face of enemy contact and obviously ISIS threats. But on the other hand, they had to stay in a posture to still be able to receive people and keep gates opened and have our American citizens and others flow through. And those were conflicting. And they were put in that position by the White House. The other piece is it ignores the fact that Kabul International was indefensible. It's like being in the middle of Mogadishu. It is in the middle of a 4 million person city. Yeah. And I still want to get to the bottom of, did the Pentagon brief the White House on taking Bagram back as a course of action? And was that rejected or was it never briefed? Because Bagram is north of the city, it's defensible, and it has a much larger runway and capability. And then finally, I reject General McKenzie's position on over-the-horizon counterterrorism. It is going to be far more difficult. The strike that they took earlier was in a remote location versus this one in a teeming city. You need other assets on the ground, and that's what people need to understand. You need human assets on the ground. You need signals capability. We now have none of that. It's all been removed. And so, you know, when is the administration going to quit this fiction that we are just as safe as we were with this full surrender and withdrawal? We are not. We have no bases in the region. Our local allies are being hunted down, and the terrorists now are much, much better armed. And we are effectively blind in many ways in terms of our intelligence. Yeah,
it's a great point. I at one point heard General McKenzie talk about our forces on the ground, and then that was clarified. He was indicating those inside the airport perimeter. And when he shows that map and he shows the target areas that they were keeping an eye on, you see exactly what you're describing, Congressman, which is a very tight, close city, an area which we had absolutely no presence in whatsoever because of the way that this was carried out. And you can, it just magnifies, and I just want to remind everyone, this is 3 days after we lost 13 people, 13 members of our service, 12 Marines, 1 Navy corpsman at that gate. So tensions were extraordinarily high at that point. And this is an enormous tragedy that, which has been pointed out, was described as a righteous act.
And Martha, one other point there, General McKenzie kept emphasizing that they were rushed and they were under such time constraints. And with future missions, say if Al-Qaeda comes roaring back, as the intelligence says they will, as though they won't be under some type of time constraint. What if you have indication of a suicide bomber about to get on an airline, about to go, fly into Europe? You're always going to have those types of time constraints. The difference is before we had human assets that could verify. We had sensors, we had signals intelligence. You can verify that drone intelligence so that you don't make mistakes like this. Again, all of that is now gone.
Congressman, thank you for being with us today. Congressman Michael Waltz, Lieutenant Commander as well. Good to see you today, sir.